Well, hey everyone, it's Markus and welcome to more chatting in my jungle room. I'm heading over to Perth today where I'm speaking to hypnotist Matt Hale. Hey Matt, how are you?
Oh, fantastic, Marcus. Lovely to be chatting to you again. And I do love the setting. Yeah,
I
yeah. I mean, you get lost in that, hey?
I do. Well, you know what? They're actually not very happy with me at the moment because it's practically 89 degrees over here in Adelaide. It's a
Ooh.
steamer, and my plants are just like not coping with the heat at all. So, anyways,
They
um,
they need a good talking to.
they need a good talking to and a lot of watering at the moment, except
Yes, yeah, yeah,
watering my plants every day. But you know what? We could talk about my plants forever, but we're here to talk
yeah.
about your incredible show. But before we start talking about the show, in Adelaide, I want to say to you, congratulations, because I know that you've just won an award, for the show running over in the Perth Fringe. Congratulations.
Yeah, this is super exciting. It's super exciting. I like we actually debuted this show in Edinburgh a few months ago. So it's the first time we've debuted in Edinburgh,
Yeah.
and yeah, it went really well. So we was like, okay, we'll try and plug it into the Australian seasons. And Perth, although I don't spend much time here, Perth's actually my home. So we're just currently in the middle of Fringe World Perth. And yeah, the show just took out an award here in Perth. So yeah, really, really nice. So thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And so Perth has received, I mean, obviously the award speaks for it, but the Perth audiences have loved the show.
Yeah, it's getting packed actually. It's amazing. It's I think what it is, it's such a party of a show. I mean, it's a you've been to my shows. They're always upbeat, they're always high energy. But this one specifically, I don't know, there's something about the 90s that people just love a sing along. They love a party, and it's all wrapped up in this brand new show of mine.
I can't wait. Well, the title is, of course, called FUNBELIEVABLE, 90s Rewind.
Yeah.
Your shows always do pack a punch. They are extremely high energy, like you say. There's always some banging tunes associated with your shows.
Yeah.
So what's the funniest thing that's happened during this show while it's been running in Perth?
Oh my goodness. Do you know what? Actually, we have a we have a moment where people get up and absolutely cut loose. Like we just find like the most minor thing to celebrate. It's a funny little thing where we just a couple of times, if I find something the most ridiculous thing to celebrate, we're all going to go absolute wild on stage. And even if you don't know the song title, you'll know the song. Do you know "Freed from Desire" by Guile? It's like na 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 na. Na. Right. So it just means I just tell everyone if we find something to celebrate, we're going to play that music. We're going to get up and absolutely go crazy. And oh my god, some of the moves during that 30-second burst have been absolutely insane. So people just go wild for it.
I have been seeing a lot of your social media of all the, gallivanting around on stage that everyone's been doing, and it's just looking like a total hoot. And so I can't wait to see it when it hits Adelaide. And it runs the entire time. So Friday, the 20th of February, right through to
Yeah.
Sunday, the 22nd of March at the Mayworth in Gluttony. What keeps you
Yeah.
back for the Adelaide Fringe? What is it about Adelaide Fringe that stands out for you?
Do you know what it was really nice. It was I can't remember, if it's maybe 7 or 8 years ago now. Someone from Gluttony came over. One of the directors from Gluttony saw the show, and they actually saw the show in Perth, and said, "Hey, why don't you bring it over to Adelaide?" And we'd never really thought of taking it to Adelaide before, and we took it over, and it worked really well. And then I got to say that the team at Gluttony, it's like an entertainer's family. They just make you feel very welcome, and obviously just try and do everything they can for your show to be a success. Even though they're working with so many different acts, so the whole team at Gluttony are always amazing. And yeah, we've always sold a lot of tickets in Adelaide because everyone seems to come out and embrace what the show is designed for, which is, I mean, at the heart of it's a audience participation show, but that doesn't mean you have to get up on stage. In fact, only 20 people can get up on stage, and there's normally quite a rush for those seats. But what actually happens is, the us on stage, the 20 plus me on stage, we kind of feel the love from the audience, and whenever that show demands sing along, clapping along, waving your hands in the air, chant along, all those things, just up movement. The audiences in Adelaide just seem to be really up for a party. So yeah, I think Adelaide really embraces just like getting out. And of course, you're so fringe friendly. It's such embedded into the psyche of Adelaide's, whereas there's a lot of smaller fringes around the world which are still just trying to think, oh, what is this kind of thing? But no, Adelaide knows how to fringe, and they know how to party.
Well, you know what, Matt Hale, you are totally bonkers, and us over here in Adelaide are bonkers as well. So that's why we get along well. We're just bonkers kind of people. Hey, let's go back to the early days. How did you get into being a hypnotist? Like, what was the big thing that happened in your life?
I know it's a really weird thing to want to do, isn't it? Or even to be able to kind of like, it's like, how do you end up here? So this is really interesting. So like many years ago, probably I'd say in my early 20s, first of all, I've always been in some form of entertainment. I started DJing when I was 15. I started club DJing when I was 18. I started doing seasons abroad, working in clubs all over the world from the age of 18, and then I went into doing breakfast radio and stuff like that. So I've always been in some form of entertainment, but in my early 20s, I was really interested in how the mind works. I kind of saw someone on TV doing some amazing memory feat where they were able to remember a shuffled deck of cards. They looked at it for 2 or 3 minutes and they were able to tell you the order. And I was thinking, this person must have a really incredible memory. They must have some kind of super genius mind. And pretty much at the end of the interview, this guy says, and I don't have any kind of super genius mind. I just know a certain technique. So I was like, oh, I need to learn that technique. And then this guy had a book, and I bought the book, and I was like, I taught myself these like memory techniques, which seemed quite stunning. So then I was thinking, what else can you do with your mind if you know the right techniques? And that led me into seeing some hypnosis shows. At the time, probably were definitely not my style of hypnosis show. It's very kind of old school then, and a much more traditional style. Sometimes it's a little bit embarrassing on the stage, but but the essence of like doing a show with hypnosis, I thought, hey, that'd be really fun. I did want to bring a different spin to it, where I thought, wouldn't it be much better that even instead of sitting in the audience laughing at the people in the audience because it's embarrassing, but whatever, wouldn't it be better if you're like sat in the audience laughing because it's so much fun, and also actually thinking, oh my goodness, I wish I was up there. So I kind of brought that energy to the shows. But it actually wasn't until many years after my first kind of like dabbling in hypnosis. I started learning how to hypnotize people in my early 20s, but it wasn't until a lot later when I decided to quit a career in radio and just blow that up and kind of go, look, I've got to do this. I've got to scratch this itch. I've got to put a show together, see what happens. And I couldn't have ever thought it would take me touring around the world constantly. But that's where we are today. But I just knew like I at least wanted to try and put a couple of shows on, and here we are again. And I don't know I don't know what number Adelaide Fringe this is, and we just keep moving.
Hey, obviously, with hypnosis, there are a lot of doubters out there, it's like, is it for real? What's all going on? How do you describe the state of mind when somebody goes into the hypnotic state?
Yeah, I've got a really nice, easy way of explaining. I do explain this at the show as well, but I actually just say like it's focused imagination, right? It's focusing on a thought so much it starts to feel real in that moment. And I always say, like, if people find that hard to believe, well, here's the thing, most people do it already. If you ever watch a sad movie, you end up crying. Like, that dog's not dead, right? That dog's a paid actor. It's just made its owner $20,000 for that movie, right? It's getting treated better than anyone else on the set. But, of course, when we watch a movie, it feels real. Your heart, if you put a heart monitor on your heart when you're watching a horror movie, your heart will physically race, right? But in the back of your mind, it's actually not real, but your brain makes it feel real. So our brain does this all the time anyway. So I just translate that onto the stage. So I think I've definitely I understand why people sometimes think, that can't be real, blah, blah, blah. But I'm finding less and less, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But I think what happens is it's because they've seen something on TV or in a movie which has the old school, oh, look at you, you'll do what I want, and that kind of thing. Of course, that's not how it works, right? So I do find that when people come to my show, and I always say, hey, don't overcomplicate this. This is just your imagination and the way you use it. So that's a very different approach for someone getting on stage and saying, tonight I will do this and I will control you and blah, blah, blah. This is a power I was born with. No, it's just a learned psychological technique, right? But here's why I think, I've been doing this 15 years now, and I can definitely tell you, I'm finding this less and less where people are like, I don't believe that. Because what's happened is that, if we took us back even 15 years ago, and you said you did yoga, someone might go, "Ah, geez, what kind of hippie are you?" Right? Like, it was still a little bit, on the fringes of everyday activity. But of course, you got a yoga studio on every street corner now. We are much more attuned to using our minds. So mindfulness is getting pushed out in the workplace as much as people embrace it on their apps and things like that. Meditation, visualization for being able to achieve things, whether it's in a sporting sense or a business sense. We all are naturally or more commonly using these techniques now. So I do find like it kind of makes sense to people now. Oh yeah, okay, and I do say, look, if anyone's done any mindfulness, meditation, yoga, visualization, you're already using the same state of mind that I'm going to use on stage, that focused imagination state. So it's now not like a weird kind of thing anymore.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. So what do you consider, like when you see somebody on stage that is easily to, put under as such, to the next person who doesn't go under the hypnosis state, like what is the difference between those two people?
Yeah, so I can't obviously pin it down exactly, but what happens is, so that's the reason why I take 20 people on stage, because I know I'm not going to have 20 amazing hypnotic volunteers straight away. And every night's different. Some night we might have 16 people who are really good. Sometimes we might have 8. Sometimes we might have 12. But my props are human. I never know how they can, I don't order them from the hypnotic volunteers props department. So I don't know what I'm going to get on the night. But I do find most people are very good at it the first time. But some people do need either just a little bit more attention or a bit longer time, which obviously in a show setting, I don't have that time to give them. Now, I will say that, if there's a couple of people sat on stage and someone's like, oh, they're just super focused, they really got their eyes closed, they're really kind of starting to zone in and imagine things and really kind of really focus inwards. But then someone else next to them is kind of sat a bit kind of stiff upright and they're maybe opening their eyes and looking around. They're just, for whatever reason, they're just finding it a little bit harder to kind of almost switch off a little bit. And sometimes that can just be the most ridiculous thing. It might be, let's say, like the aircon is blowing too hard on their neck, or it might be maybe they didn't go to the toilet before the show and they're suddenly thinking, oh, actually, I'm going to sit here, but I do need to go to the toilet. So someone else is still kind of like poking their consciousness to just keep them a little bit more alert. So, of course, it could be one of 1,000 things. I never know what that is. But yeah, but I always do say to people, because quite often people say to me, oh, I so much I wanted to be part of the show. So, why can't I do this? And I say, no, it's not that you can't do it. You found it hard to concentrate tonight, but come back another time, you could be the first one absolutely zoned out on that stage. So
exactly, I totally get it. Like, because it's kind of like meditating, isn't it? Really, like somebody can
absolutely
and focus on totally nothing, whereas someone else can be sitting there meditating and they're thinking about if they're going to get a parking ticket or whatever. And
yeah,
I hear what.
Yeah, I actually liken it to that thing. Like, I don't know if you've ever done this. This is a weird analogy, but if you've ever been thinking, like, if you're so tired, and you're in bed, right, and you're thinking, oh, I kind of need to go to the toilet, but I can sleep this out, and you never really get asleep because you kind of go, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to get up to go to the toilet, but also at the same time, like, am I going to? No, I'll be fine. I'll sleep this one, and so you end up in this kind of like middle state, not properly sleeping, but not getting up to go to the toilet, and that's that same thing, If you're in that kind of like middle state on stage, you're not going to be. I'm not going to keep you up there.
Well, look, Matt, I don't know if there's anyone in Adelaide who hasn't seen your show, because you've been doing this for a good 8 years in Adelaide, I'm sure by now, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
But and your shows are always packed out. I've been to pretty much good 5 years of them, I reckon. But I love your work. And so for those of you that haven't seen the show, make sure you get out and grab a ticket, because Matt Hale has just got high ball energy going on. His shows are fun, they're incredible to watch, they're engaging, you can be a part of the show, so grab your tickets. It's called FUNBELIEVABLE 90s Rewind. So I mean, that's going to come with, actually let's talk about some music. Can you drop any music in in here?
Yeah. Hey, this is really interesting, right? Because obviously in the past I've done a 80s theme show. And like when I was doing my 80s theme, it was kind of almost quite easy to define the 80s, like what defines the 80s musically, and you can instantly reel a lot of stuff off. And when I was thinking, hey, maybe I should do a 90s one, because like I'm seeing so many like 90s kind of revival stuff going on, and Oasis were touring, they were back, and then there's all these kind of like 90s things coming back into our psyche again.
Yeah.
And so initially I was like, but what defines the 90s? But honestly, the moment I start, like if you start to look at what we have in the 90s, we have, here's a few little kind of niches within the music: boy bands, right? Girl power,
Yep.
grunge,
Yep.
Britpop,
Yep.
rave. All of these things were all defined in the 90s. So of course, that there is an absolute banging playlist. There's a massive soundtrack to this show, which contains all of those.
Fingers crossing for Spice Girls or Britney Spears.
Oh, you will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed.
I want to see you. I want to see you come out in that Britney Spears outfit, that red PVC outfit. All right.
Hey, I can't promise you that, but I will tell you, if you make sure you're in your seat 5 minutes before the show starts, there's going to be something that will scratch that Britney itch for you even before the show starts.
Beans for it, Matt. Matt Hale, everyone. FUNBELIEVABLE, like I said, 90s Rewind. Grab your tickets through the Adelaide Fringe website. It runs from the 20th of February right through to the 22nd of March, which is the entire duration of the Adelaide Fringe at the Mayworth at Gluttony in Rymel Park. Matt Hale, what an absolute joy chatting to you as always. Can't wait to catch up with you when you hit Adelaide. Enjoy the rest of the Fringe Perth, the Perth Fringe, and I'll see you for Adelaide Fringe really soon.
Get on, I'll see you then.